They rejected me for my sister's boyfriend, then found out I was his boss. You showing up is just a disgrace to the whole family, my father said when I asked. Are we inviting the relatives to Mom's birthday this year, like we usually do? They feared my presence would make them look bad in front of my sister's boyfriend. After that, I said nothing. I silently logged into my bank account and terminated every automatic payment I'd covered for the past 2 years. 1 month later, they realized how significant I was, but it was already too late. I didn't accept a single regret. I chose to live for myself. Follow my story, maybe you'll see yourself in it. Hello, I'm Ethan. I'm 30 years old and live in a small town about a 40-minute drive from Seattle. Every morning, I make myself a cup of coffee, turn on the weather report, and head to the office, less than 10 miles from home. I co-founded a small tech company in the renewable energy field. Not everyone gets what I do, not even my family. They still think I spend my days tightening screws and fixing machines. But I don't mind. I've never felt the need to explain. Sometimes, when someone asks about my family, my parents, or my sister Sophia, I smile a little. It's been a while since we talked, I say, leaving it at that. Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I don't see the point in retelling it anymore. I haven't been in touch with them for over 2 years. No calls, no texts, no holidays, no birthdays, nothing. Just a long, quiet stretch, like the line between us was cut, and no one bothered to tie it back together. I used to believe family was everything, but 2 years ago, on my mother's birthday, everything changed. 3 weeks before my mom's birthday, I had just booked my flight and gotten time off work. The plan was simple. Go home early, stay a few days, and help prepare, like every other year. Nothing special. I just wanted to give them a heads up. I called my mom, but my father picked up after 2 rings. I'll be coming home 2 days early, I said casually. If there's anything you need me to pick up or help with, let me know. At first, he just gave a vague, but then he hesitated. When he spoke, his voice sounded off, heavier, like he was avoiding something. Ethan, if possible, maybe don't come home this year. I thought he was concerned about my schedule. It's fine, Dad, I said, holding a warm mug of coffee. I've got everything sorted. It's no trouble. There was a longer pause. Then he spoke again, firmer, colder. Sophia's bringing her boyfriend home this year. He's a manager, someone significant, speaks well, carries himself properly. And your job? Well, it isn't very comfortable to talk about. So it's best if you don't come. Heat rose from my neck to my face. My heartbeat skipped, and I gripped my coffee mug tighter. What the hell did you just say? I snapped, no longer keeping my voice calm. Are you seriously saying that to me right now? He didn't deny it, didn't take it back, didn't soften. Instead, he said, plain and sharp, you coming home would just disgrace the whole family. If you insist on coming, don't call me your father. Then, without pause, he hung up. I set the phone down, my hand trembling slightly, damp with sweat. The apartment was utterly silent. No TV, no footsteps, just me staring into space, as if yanked out of my life. His words kept resounding in my head, slow and clear, like a recording on loop. Asterisk, you coming home would just disgrace the whole family. If you insist, don't call me your father. Asterisk. For a moment, I wondered if I'd misheard. But no, every word and tone was cold as ice, solid as stone. No slip of the tongue, no room for hope. I clenched my jaw, my throat tightening like something was lodged there. Memories flooded back. I'd silently paid their bills, electricity, water, internet, for over 2 years. No one mentioned it, and now they called me the shame of the family. I picked up my phone, hands still shaking, though my mind had gone cold. I opened the banking app and scrolled to the transaction history, needing a number. Electric bill, water bill, internet service. Every month, not one missed, automatically pulled from my account. Nearly $400 a month, like clockwork, for 2 years. I scrolled to the bottom. Total spent, $9,842.17. I stared at that number, not surprised, but because something in my chest had calmed. Not sadness, not anger, just emptiness. Nearly $10,000, and they call me the shame of the family. A question surfaced, one that in 30 years no one in my family had asked. Has Sophia ever done as much for our parents as I have? It wasn't jealousy. I wasn't seeking credit. If I'm the shame, who's the standard? I'd paid nearly $10,000, silently, without asking for anything, without mentioning it. And her? Has she ever sacrificed anything, ever asked if they needed help, or did she show up, smile pretty, and leave an impression in a lovely dress with a successful boyfriend? I wasn't keeping score. I was asking because I realized fairness was never part of the equation. I'd gotten used to standing on the sidelines since I was a kid. In family photos, I was usually partly hidden or at the edge, not quite looking at the camera. No one told me to step aside, but I always did. Every critical moment revolved around Sophia: birthdays, graduations, breakups. There was always a reason to rally around her: comfort, praise. For me, I can't recall the last time someone asked if I was okay. Sophia is 2 years older, but the gap was never about age. She was the hope, the child with a future, the one our parents bragged about to relatives. Me? If I came up, I was a footnote. Ethan, oh, he's fine, does something with tech, I think. I believed if I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, took care of everything, they'd see me. But they didn't. When you're used to being invisible, no one notices when you're gone. I started covering their utility bills 2 years ago after a call from my mom. She complained about rising costs, how bills spiked, how their retirement income wasn't enough. Hesitantly, she said, if you could help a little, it'd mean a lot. I agreed, thinking it'd be temporary. But the months followed the same pattern. No one mentioned stopping, no plan B. I'd ask, is Sophia helping out? Mom dodged every time. Just help this month, your sister will pitch in next time. Or she's covering Dad's medical stuff. That's not easy. I heard those lines so often I could recite them. Deep down, I knew they weren't true. So I kept sending nearly $400 a month, silently, without complaint, because I thought it was right. But today, they call me the shame of the family. Once the silence settled, I sat frozen on the couch, phone in hand. I wasn't angry or heartbroken, just a feeling in my chest. That's enough? I opened my banking app, scrolled to automatic payments, and terminated each one: electricity, water, internet, without hesitation. Not to get even, but to hold on to the one thing left. A little self-respect, the only thing they hadn't taken. A week later, I got a message from my mom. Her usual soft tone, no mention of what happened, no regret. Asterisk, I got a notice the internet bill is due. Can you take care of it? Asterisk, I read it, stared at the screen, and put the phone down without replying. Not to make a statement, but because the first thing they said was still a request. Pay the internet bill. Not, are you okay? Or can we talk? So I stayed silent, and that silence said everything. 2 weeks later, my dad called. The phone rang, then stopped. I didn't answer. Minutes later, a voicemail, his tone sharp, impatient. Asterisk, the power company called. This month's bill hasn't been paid. What's going on? Asterisk, still no concern, no acknowledgement of what he said when I called about Mom's birthday. I listened, turned off the screen, and laid the phone face down. I stayed silent. 3 weeks after my father told me not to come home, it was my mother's birthday. The party went on: roasted chicken, her favorite cake, relatives around the table, everything planned, except for me. That afternoon, at 4 p.m., I sat in my living room, holding a cold coffee. My phone buzzed, Mom calling. I looked at her name, then put the phone down. I didn't answer, didn't think twice. Then my dad called. Then Sophia. 3 calls in under 10 minutes. I let them go. No curiosity, no urge to respond. I leaned against the chair, eyes on the fogged-up window. The sky was dull gray, cold in that quiet, creeping way, like winter brushing the doorstep. 10 minutes later, messages started. Mom first. Asterisk, Ethan, the power's been shut off. The house is dark. Please pay the bill. Asterisk, I read it in silence. No anger, just a hollowness spreading. The kind you feel after years of carrying a family's weight alone. Then my dad. Asterisk, no water. We can't cook. Handle it now. Asterisk, then Sophia. Asterisk, internet's down. Guests are arriving. Please fix this. Urgent. Asterisk, I glanced at the clock. 5:12 p.m. I'd terminated the payments 3 weeks ago, after my father said not to call him Dad. Now, in the middle of the birthday party they barred me from, everything shut down: power, water, internet, when they needed it most. I didn't text back, didn't call. I felt no need to explain. I sat, turning the cold coffee cup in my hands, eyes gazing out the window, past everything. They weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because no one else would carry their burden. By 6 p.m., My phone buzzed nonstop, but not from my parents or Sophia. It was relatives, the ones who show up on holidays but feel entitled to judge. Messages came in waves. Some called me disrespectful. One said, "You embarrassed your mother in front of the family." Another, subtler but cutting, asterisk, "Your sister was right. People like you shouldn't show up on a happy day." Asterisk. I read each message, not replying. Not because silence meant agreement, but because I'd stopped explaining to people who chose the louder crowd over what was right. I was about to set the phone down when it lit up again. Aunt Margaret, the only family member I still trusted, calling on video through an old app only we used because we cared enough to look each other in the eye. I hesitated, then answered on the second ring. Her face appeared, blurred by the yellow glow of the kitchen behind her, a place I knew like the back of my hand, every crack, every squeaky cabinet. Tonight, it felt different. Clinks of silverware, awkward laughter, and scattered talk floated in the background. She looked at me, eyes soft but worried. "You're not going to pay it, Ethan," she said, not accusatory, just light, trying to understand. I looked into her eyes and spoke slowly, dragging up something buried too long. "You know, Auntie, it was Dad who told me not to come." I swallowed hard. He said if I insisted, I shouldn't call him my father anymore. She went quiet, her gaze shifting, scanning the room. Then the call descended into chaos. My mother's voice cut through. Asterisk, "Tell him I'm ashamed of him. On this day of all days. How could he do this?" Asterisk, "My father." Sharp and loud. Asterisk, "It's not that serious. It's just paying a few bills. What kind of man gets petty over money?" Asterisk, another voice. "Maybe my uncle. Poor Sophia, having to deal with a brother like that." Footsteps approached. Sophia appeared behind Aunt Margaret, arms crossed, lips curled. Asterisk, "He even picked up the call. Mom's been crying all day. Does he care? Seriously, no shame." Asterisk. I didn't speak, just watched, holding my silence like self-protection. As I was about to end the call, another face appeared, a young man with neat hair and a dark suit. He looked at me, confusion flickering, then offered a hesitant smile. "Hey, boss," he said, voice rough, unsure if the words belonged. I froze, eyes locked on the screen, gripping the phone tighter. I hadn't expected this. Not here, not on the night they said I was too shameful to invite. I stared for seconds, then it clicked. His face, his voice. He was a new hire, transferred from our southern branch. We'd exchanged emails, he'd sent 2 reports, but I hadn't realized he was Sophia's boyfriend, the one they were eager to impress. The room behind Aunt Margaret seemed to hold its breath. She glanced over her shoulder, and the kitchen stirred nervously. A hushed voice. "Wait, what did he call Ethan?" Another, uncertain. Asterisk, "Boss. Does that mean Ethan is Sophia's boyfriend's boss?" Asterisk. The whispers swelled, overlapping, unsure. I watched the screen, no nod, no denial, waiting to see where it would go. The young man stood straighter, looked past the camera, and spoke clearly. "In case you didn't know, I work at Pacific Terratech. Mr. Ethan is one of the company's co-founders." His words landed sharp, cutting through the clatter of plates and murmurs. The room fell into a stunned silence, not awkward, just shocked. I didn't speak, pressed my lips together, and gave a faint nod, a quiet confirmation. He turned back to the screen, eyes wide. I said calmly, "Hope your big introduction goes perfectly." Then I hung up. That night, I slept soundly, no tossing, no racing thoughts, no jolting awake with old questions resounding. For the first time in years, I felt light, not from satisfaction, but because they finally knew who I was. The next day, before sunlight slipped through the curtains, I checked my emails. Meeting reminders, notes from accounting, then a name I didn't recognize, Carter Reed. I opened it, and the first line hit me. Asterisk, "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Sophia's brother. I've always respected you at the company." Asterisk, I raised an eyebrow, leaned against the pillow, and read on. Carter wrote he was surprised by the family connection and, without softening it, said, asterisk, "I didn't expect her to be like that. I'll be ending this relationship. Thank you for not putting me on the spot." Asterisk. I rested the phone on my chest, closed my eyes momentarily, then reopened the inbox and typed slowly. Asterisk, "Carter, that's your matter. I don't expect anyone to make decisions to stay in my good graces. Think carefully, and for the record, I don't bring family into the workplace." Asterisk, I hit send, no lingering emotion. That was enough. Around 10 a.m., as I wrapped up a meeting, my phone buzzed. Sophia. I stared for seconds, then declined, not out of anger, but because I'd grown tired of regrets that only show after everything falls apart. 5 minutes later, a message, I'm sorry. I didn't think Carter would change like that. You're his boss. If you said something, I'm sure he'd listen. Please talk to him. Ask him to come back. I leaned against the hallway window, reread it, and typed. Carter didn't leave because I told him to. He left because of how you live, how you treat people, how you look down on what you don't understand, and how you assume a soft voice can steer anyone. I hit send, slipped the phone back, and returned to my desk. Less than a minute later, another message. I know I messed up. I mean it, I'll change. Please believe me, just this once. I read it, sat with it, but nothing stirred. Not because I didn't care, but because I understood the distance between us wasn't in the regret, but when it came. I silently deleted the message and turned back to life. A week later, on a Friday afternoon, I froze on the porch. My parents stood at the front door, each holding a suitcase, faces drawn from a long flight. I didn't ask why. If they'd flown to see me, it wasn't casual. I opened the door, let them in. No tension, no forced politeness, just a decision to avoid that talk outside with the wind picking up. We sat in the living room, tea steaming. My father spoke first, apologizing in a calmer tone. My mother added they'd thought things over, maybe gone too far, things shouldn't have reached this point. I stayed silent, listening to see if this regret was the end or the start of something else. As expected, my father's tone shifted. We're family, Ethan. Family helps each other. We raised you, sent you to school. Everything you have, a part comes from us, right? My mother spoke, soft, like it was reasonable. If you could send us about $2,000 a month, just a little support, it's not much for someone like you. I looked at the two people in my living room, who once pushed me out of a family gathering because I was a disgrace, now attaching a price tag to their regret, $2,000 a month, because I was their son and my success was a debt I owed. I let out a soft chuckle, not sarcastic, the kind when a story doesn't make sense. I looked at them, their eyes waiting, almost sure I'd agree. But I wasn't angry. I'd come too far to be rattled. I leaned back, voice steady. What about Sophia? How much will she contribute each month? The room paused, the air tightened. My father glanced at my mother. She responded slowly, voice dropping. Your sister's job is unstable, and the breakup with Carter has taken a toll. I nodded, not surprised. The same reasons, wrapped in empathetic words, but deflections. I looked directly at them. If she agrees to support you with $2,000 a month, I'll do the same, no more, no less. They stared, as if gauging my seriousness. I continued calmly. Or, if you want me to carry the full amount, I'll need a legal agreement confirming that after you both pass, the house belongs to me in full. I sat still, no pressure, waiting to see how they'd respond now that I was setting terms for what they assumed was my duty. The room sank into heavy silence. Then my father shot to his feet, slammed his palm on the table, tipping a teacup, its contents spilling. His voice roared. You're setting conditions for your parents? We raised you for over 20 years, and now you nickel and dime us? What kind of life are you living? I didn't move, didn't flinch, just sat, hands on the chair's arm, eyes locked on his, not cold, but no longer soft. I waited for him to finish, then stood slowly, my voice low, clear. I think you both should leave my house. It wasn't a threat, not said in anger, just a request from someone who'd reached the end of respect. No one spoke. Only the sound of luggage dragging across the floor and the door clicking shut behind them, quieter than everything they left inside me. It's been 2 years since I saw them in my home. I didn't block their numbers, didn't change my email, didn't cut them off completely. I just stopped reaching out and waited to see if, without duty and obligation, they'd see me as family. In 2 years, no call, no message asking how I've been, no mention of birthdays, health, or a simple how are you. I used to believe they'd change, but I've learned not everyone does, especially those who never thought they were wrong. I still live here, work, carry on. The difference? I no longer let myself be an emotional ATM, giving, hurting, all for duty. If there's one thing I've taken from this, it's that family isn't where people demand your kindness and call it love. Real family is where you're seen as a person, not a wallet, backup plan, or last resort. Before I close this chapter, I want to ask, was I wrong for not going back, for saying no to $2,000 a month? Even though they're older, even though they raised me? I used to believe family could heal everything. But after being treated like a stranger in my own home too many times, I chose to step out of that cycle. Was I too cold, or was I finally learning to love myself at the right time? Leave your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear whether you agree or see things differently. If this story meant something, don't forget to hit subscribe to support the channel. There are still so many stories waiting to be told, waiting to be heard. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for staying until the end.